Welcome to the Rabbi and The Shrink. This is Dr. Margarita Gurri, Dr. Red Shoe, and everyone's favorite rabbi,
Yonason Goldson.
And the rabbi and I are incredibly happy to have with us again, Matt Ward. Welcome, Matt Ward.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Hey, Matt.
Well, so are we. Well, this time we invited you. You're an international speaker. I met you most recently during the time of COVID in a Zoom meeting where you're presenting technical expertise, an NSA New England chapter. And I know you just moved from Boston to Florida, so congratulations. I think you're much warmer now, right?
I am much warmer. Yeah.
So maybe you're more ready to talk about a hot topic.
Great play on words right there.
Is that unethical to make a bad pun, Rabbi? I don't know.
Puns are simultaneously good and bad. That's why it's the highest and lowest for me.
So one of the things that Matt Ward is an expert on is he's a consultant on referral. So Matt Ward, tell us what you know about referral.
Referrals are what drive a business. Referrals, as I like to say, are the currency of life. Relationships are the currency of life, and referrals come from relationships, right? And so what everybody wants in a small business is more business. And they often say that they get all their new business from referrals. But yet when I follow up with a question, but do you have a strategy in place to get more referrals? The answer is always no. And I don't understand that. I don't comprehend that. Hey, all this money comes from over here. Let's go do something else differently, like chase new clients or something like that. So I consider a referral somebody who's ready, willing, and able to buy. And it's really what moves the needle, in a small business specifically, especially service-based businesses, which are the type of businesses I work with, everybody from credit card processing to real estate agents to mortgage professionals, web designers, consultants, coaches, things like that. And it's about building relationships in a way that makes sense, so that you don't have to spend a ton of advertising dollars, right? You're really not. The idea here is that you're not bribing people to do business with you. You're loving and caring on them enough because you want them in your life. And the byproduct of that is actually referrals. See, here's the core component. Most people believe that people do business with who they know, like, and trust. But I believe people do business with who they know, like, trust, and care about. And I think the core component there is the care. And if you care for other people, not to get referrals, but if you care because you truly care about the success of other people, then they will care about you. And that will result in referrals at the end of the day.
I think you're making a really important point for so many different aspects of life, that we're so outcome oriented. If I meet you and my immediate focus is, what can I get out of you? What can I get from you? How can I leverage you? So now you've become a commodity. And if I start off the relationship seeing as a commodity, we're never really going to reach a point where we do care about each other. I only care about what your market value is in my business. Whereas if we approach from the sense of, here's a human being, here's a person who has something of interest to offer, here's a person potentially I can create a relationship with, and then the benefits are just going to come organically without my chasing them or trying to pursue them. And doctor, isn't that just sort of a fundamental insight into human psychology, that we have to sort of guard ourselves against slipping into this commodity mode?
Absolutely. We don't want to be taken advantage of, nor do we want to cultivate a friendship just for what we can get, So Matt Ward, what's the solution? Let's say the rabbi and I want to grow our small business here with the Rabbi and the Shrink. And let's pretend we want to do it ethically. So what are we to do? What would be some strategies you would suggest for us?
Well, a couple things. First off, I want to address one thing, is that when we do it for the transaction, it's just gross. We see that happen all the time on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's stay away from the transaction, to the rabbi's point. And to your point, Dr. Redshoe, let's assume we want to do it ethically. Let's not assume that. Let's do it ethically, because that's the big component of this, right? Is the ethics around it will be
Yes.
authentic. And the more authentic we are, the more referrals we're going to get.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a 4-part approach that I believe work successfully to gaining referrals in a service-based business. And those 4, I call them pillars, they can stand on their own and they can be mixed and matched together, but they're really basic principles. The first one is over deliver. And let me be clear, that's not under promise and over deliver like a lot of people like to repeat and regurgitate all the time. Under promising and over delivering is unethical. You're setting yourself up for success, not the customer. So just to over deliver, you just have to understand what the expectations of the client are and then exceed those expectations. You have to do it one more better. That's the goal, right? So that's over delivery. The second pillar is listening. Do you listen to people, not just with your ears, but also with your eyes? Like, do you know that Dr. Red Shoe has red shoes? Like, right? This is not rocket science. We just pay attention. Do you pay attention to the clothing that people wear that you interact with? Do you see Facebook friends and social media friends and how they interact? Do you see their kids and that their kid lost a tooth and their kid graduated from school, or what their kid's big, Christmas holiday present was, whatever it is, right? And so, are you paying attention to other people in their lives? That's what listening really is. Then there's surprise. That's an unexpected gift at an unexpected time. And that can be as basic as a handwritten card. Because the handwritten card is a powerful tool to build a true connection. You make others feel incredibly special when you send a handwritten card, and we keep those handwritten cards, right? One point to a handwritten card is never put your business card in it, because it makes it about you and not about them.
Yes.
Right. And then the final pillar is non-self-serving acts. So what things can you do for other people that have no bearing or benefit to you? Like driving your friend to the airport, saving them the money on a taxi and Uber or shuttle service or airport service or whatever, right? And you get quality time with your friend to connect, to build a relationship. If you do these 4 components in some form or fashion throughout your life, and you start showing up in other people's lives, and you do it in an authentic way, you do it because you care, not because you want referrals, then they will care about you. And the way they show that care is through things similar to your business, right? Because you're a business owner, you're putting it out there that you're a business owner. They know you're a business owner. That's how they're going to want to care about you. They're going to spread the word about you. And it does take time. You can't really short circuit and hack this trust process, this relationship building process. There's a couple things you can do to accelerate it, but you can't hack it. And so you have to do it because you care. Because if you do it to get referrals, they will see through that.
Yep.
And you won't get any. We've all been in a networking room where someone is acting like they're there for you, but you can clearly tell they're there for them.
Yeah, my favorite is that at a networking, they come up and they're talking to you, and then they see over your shoulder someone that might be the bigger fish, and say, I gotta go. And then they go. And then you can hear them say the same thing. I'm going, well, I was useful to them. It's not a pretty sight. In my culture, we say, eso no se quedó lindo. That was not pretty. Meaning you shouldn't have done that. So it's fascinating.
Yeah. And, we talk about so much, being of service, the point we talk about servant leaders. I was asked to be the programming chair for my chapter of the National Speaker Association. And I reluctantly agreed. And it was one of the best business decisions I've ever made, because I pick our guests up at the airport. Mm-hmm. And many of them say, well, you don't have to do that. And I say, I know I don't have to, but you're our guest. And this is the way I was raised. And this is the right thing to do. And I have made so many relationships.
That's nice.
That are there. I mean, people become friends, and people know me as a colleague. And I'm able to ask for help when I need it. And I'm able to offer help when it's requested. And I have this wonderful community of connections that I didn't set out to create or to acquire. It just happened naturally by being of service.
I did the
And
exact same thing. Exact same thing. I picked up a number of speakers for our chapter from the airport and conversed with them throughout the conversation through the drive. And 3 or 4 years later, I get an email saying, "Hey, do you want to sit at my table at the CPAE banquet?" I was like, sure. Why me? Oh, well, you're an upcoming star. Like,
Oh,
not really. I just know how to network. I know how to build relationships. I know how to stay in touch. So for me, it wasn't just the drive, right? But it's also what I did after that. I constantly was checking in. How can I help you? What can I do? Are you going to be in town? Can we meet up for coffee if you're ever going to be in town again? If you have an event or a client that brings you to town, what can we do? If I go to your town, I'm reaching out, right? And in one case, there was one speaker who was from Atlanta, Georgia, and their son was going to Berkeley in Boston, and they needed some help. And I offered. I
oh,
offered to put the college students' stuff in my garage for the summer. Like, I offered to pick them up. I helped them move in and out.
that's
And
nice.
next thing you know, we're going, all three of us, me, the speaker, and their son, going to Billy Joel at Fenway Park all together. Like, it's a relationship. And now I can text them and ask them questions. And this is somebody who's a CPAE Hall of Famer, right? They've been around a lot longer than me when it comes to the industry, and so I'm building friendships first, relationships second. Maybe some business will come of it, but likely not. I'm not worried about that. I'm more focused on what can I learn by observing them, by following them, by watching their social channels, by learning about them and who they are and how they survived the economic downturn of 2008 and then the COVID downturn of 2000 and, 2019, 2021, however long this is going to go. What can I learn from them in watching all of that? And so it's exciting to be a part of
that's
that.
what ethics is all about. How can I develop myself to be a better person? And how can I help other people with my talents, my resources, my opportunities?
It makes a big difference. So now let's muddy the waters. Let's talk about referral fees. So now we have relationships. They like us professionally. We like them professionally. Tell me about referral fees, because it's a muddy situation across the board.
Yeah. So this is a very touchy, muddy, as you say, situation because it's different in every industry. Here's what I'd like to say. If it's you know your industry better than I do, right? The industry that you're in, that the listener is in, you know the industry better than I do. Some industries you absolutely cannot accept any monetary receipt or gift for a referral. You cannot do it. It's considered unethical and it's just not allowed. But there are many other industries where not only is it allowed, it's not considered unethical. So for instance, the industry that I came from was the web design industry, and we would pay referral fees to IT providers who sent us business for websites, and we paid 10 or 20%. It's a very standard practice in that industry, and it's never really looked down upon. There are other times in other industries where a new business owner might not know about these referral fees and see themselves as a referral partner, and they might call it a kickback. And to me, a kickback is a very negative connotation around referral fee. Now, ultimately, if that's how they see it, that's how they see it. When you think of things like affiliate marketing, that is a referral fee, right? And so the government has said you need to disclose that up front. And so more of that is coming to light because people want to make sure that they're not being overcharged. Again, we're talking about ethics here.
Yes.
The reality is the more transparent you are about this stuff, the better off it's going to be. Now, again, you want to make sure that when you're involving yourself in a relationship that involves referral fees and transactions of money, that is talked about early on, because you're going to find out whether or not there's an issue in that industry. You're going to find out if there's an alternative way to compensate legitimately in that industry. Maybe some industries have a thing that they can't receive money, but they can receive a gift as long as it's not over $50, right? In other industries, like with government now, I think it's $25. They can't receive anything more than $25 or something like that.
Some governments at zero.
There you go.
Not even a glass of water.
Right, there you go. And so you just have to, the more conversation you have up front about this, the more you can iron it out and make it a thing. Now, here's an alternative. If you cannot receive a fee because it's unethical in your business and you're not allowed to, let me ask you this question, Dr. Redshoe. Would it be okay if I donated what I would normally give you as a fee to a charity of your choice?
Yes, and I've often asked that. I'm a psychologist. We're not allowed to get referral fees at all. But if I tell them that they feel compelled, because it's a line item, they can donate it to military children program somewhere in their community.
There you go.
And I'm allowed to do that, but I can't get credit. My name can't be on it. So psychologists, I'm not allowed to give or receive a referral fee.
Right.
Even if it's something that doesn't look like a psychology thing. If I'm speaking, for instance, I'm still a psychologist who speaks. So no matter what, that counts. Yeah.
Now, here's the other issue that comes up. People will come to me and we'll be talking. I'll be consulting with them and coaching them on this stuff. And they'll be talking about building out a referral partner program, which
Yes.
typically involves a fee
Yes.
involved there. I'm always very clear to remind my clients that people do not refer for the money. They never refer for the money. They refer because an opportunity presents itself. That's why they refer. They're not going to make enough money from 10%. I mean, look, the reality is most of these contracts are not hundreds of thousands of dollars and then paying out 10% referral fees, right? They're 1,000 or 10,000 and they pay out 5%, right? It's like $50, maybe on the high end, $500. Do you know how many times I'd have to refer you at a $500 referral fee to actually make a living doing this? It's not worth my time. No. Yeah, it's not worth my time, right? And so once I really communicate with people, it's spend less time focusing on the money side of referrals and spend more time focusing on educating people on how to, what I call bird dog the referral for you, ask the right question. And you need to spend more time finding the right partners who are talking to the right people, your ideal clients, so that they can be in a position to refer you. That's why, by the way, clients rarely refer. Clients don't really refer. Most people think clients refer, but clients subconsciously don't even want to share you. They want you available when they call you, right? That's why asking for a referral never works. Because like, oh, Dr. Redshoe, yeah, I'm a referral consultant. You know some people that do sales in their business, right? Yeah, you do? Great. How many of them need more referrals? Well, I imagine a lot of them, right? Okay, great. Great. Could you introduce me to a few of them? No? Because here's what happens, right? Now it's like, oh, I just asked you for access to your contact database, which I'm going to sell to. That's gross.
Yep.
That's really gross. And as a society, we love to buy, but absolutely despise being sold to. That's why we don't like the cold calling. That's why we call them spammers and all this stuff, and we hang up the phone on them and stuff like that. The other response you get is, oh, Matt, yeah, let me think of somebody and I'll get back to you. And then it's just like dead silence for weeks because I put you in an awkward situation. That's why you should never ask for referrals.
Well, when the rabbi and I get referrals, we make specific referrals. Do you know someone who speaks on this? And we say, yes, this particular person, Yeah,
and I think
it's important to be careful with our reputations. So if I speak on an ethics topic at a keynote, the next year they're not going to ask me again, I'll refer the rabbi.
And that's because you're in a position to refer because you're talking to the decision maker and you know people. So that's why speakers get speakers business.
Yes.
Right. That's why speakers are great referral sources for other speakers. That's why mortgage professionals and real estate agents are great referral sources for each other. Right. Because they're constantly talking to people who need both of those things. And so I'm a big believer in surrounding yourself with a great sphere of influence, a center of influence, these people that are going to refer on a regular basis.
So how do you identify those? Let's say there are a lot of people listening who are going, okay, tell me how.
So it's a very simple process. It takes about 5 minutes to do. On a blank piece of paper, the left-hand side, you write down 10 clients' names, the last 10 clients you had. Then on the right-hand side, you write down who referred them. If a client referred a client, you throw that one out. You keep doing this until you have 10 client names that were referred by 10 non-clients. Then all I want you to do after that is look at the right side. What's in common? What do they do? Where do they live? Where do they work? Are they part of the Little League program that your kid goes to? Are they part of the karate school that you take your kid to dance school? Are they part of your university, your college? Are they part of your church? Are they all accountants, CPAs, attorneys? Are they doctors, nurses? What do they do? There's something in common there. Find that lowest common denominator, then rinse and repeat. Those are the people you want to build relationships with.
I mean, again, we keep coming back to this expression, build relationships. And another element that comes to my mind is that I meet you at a networking event. We talk for a few minutes. Is either one of us really in a position to give a referral?
No, never.
Yeah.
Not in that scenario.
Yeah. So there has to be, if I'm going to refer somebody, I mean, ethically, I have to have confidence in the person I'm referring. I mean, I had this issue when I was teaching high school, and students would come and they would ask for college recommendations. And sometimes I just didn't feel I could recommend them
Right.
in good conscience. And it was always uncomfortable because I didn't want to make them feel bad. I didn't want to say no, but this is my reputation on the line. And it's my responsibility that if I'm recommending somebody or referring somebody, that I'm convinced that the person that I'm referring or recommending is going to live up to the hype. And so if I don't know you well enough, how can I ethically recommend you or refer you?
Yeah, I think that and that becomes the problem, is that there are people out there that expect referrals rather quickly.
Yes.
They believe that a business card equals the opportunity to refer. And that's not really how this works. And those people end up falling by the wayside. And if they're successful in their business, it's usually because they do a lot of outreach in other ways, like cold calling or whatever. But typically they're not successful from a referral standpoint because the relationship building isn't there.
No, but some people are just so good at what they do, but they don't understand networking. So they make one networking faux pas after another. But they just happen by nature of their good character and who they are, and they're good at what they are. And so they get referrals. And you have to then tell them this strategy does not work for you. Just be yourself and don't do this thing, right? I think it's up to us to help people, have an idea about your networking. Let me know if you're interested. I don't just come out and say it. I give them a chance to ask me,
Yeah, that's
As a
always
rabbi knows,
awkward.
I'm never short an opinion, so.
I've always despised the individual that shows up to a networking group and starts handing out business cards like they're a Pez dispenser. Because what happened was, ultimately I went to a trade show and a guy was doing this, and he had a web company, and I owned a web company at the time, and I'm walking down the trade show floor and he starts trying to hand me his business card. And I said, "Oh, I'm all set, thanks." And he says, "Well, you don't need a website?" I go, "No, I'm all set." And he says, "Surely you know someone that needs a website." And then I pointed at my shirt that had my company name on it that said Central Mass Web Design. And I said, "And why would I need that?" And so it was just, there are so many people in the world of networking that are just oblivious, that they're chasing the numbers game on the sales. And as my friend Jason Cutter and I say, it's just gross.
It
It's
is.
just stop. We don't, the thing I talk to my clients about is do the math. How many clients do you actually need? Not that many. You don't need thousands. You're not Amazon. You're not selling widgets. Like you're not, Target and Walmart, and you don't need foot traffic and all this other stuff, right? You might need 20 clients. The problem is you think you need them today. If you had them all show up today and sign a contract today, you'd be screwed because you wouldn't be able to deliver, right? And now you can't over deliver. And it's just a big mess. You want to grow and scale slowly and do it in a way that makes sense so that nothing breaks, right? And your clients are happy, and your referral partners who referred those people to you, who knew about you, they're happy. Because when you fail the client, the referral partner, regardless of whether they got compensated, will stop referring if you fail the client. That's where the trust that the rabbi was talking about fails. That once that trust fails, it's really hard to get it back. And you've got this trust bank account, you're making small deposits in it all the time. The minute you take a withdrawal, if you go negative, you're done. You got to remain positive in that bank account.
So do people really need social media strategies then?
I don't think they need, well, I would argue that we need social media to stay connected and to learn about other people. Because there are things that happen on social media that people are posting on social media, and they're not telling me, they're not making it an initiative to tell me. They put it on social media, and that's where I see it. Right. So I do think we need social media to some degree. Definitely to stay in touch and build the relationships is super helpful for that. And define social media, right? It's YouTube, it's Instagram, it's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's all these places that I'm comfortable being, where also my contacts are. And notice, I'm not talking about posting. I'm talking about reading. There's a big difference. Reading, commenting, messaging privately through the chat platform and stuff like that. That's a much different, it's a game changer. No one, remember, it's very simple, guys. How do you outrun a bear? Yeah, you don't. You outrun each other, right?
I was going to say, you have a slower friend. That's how you
That's
outrun
exactly
the-
right.
Yeah.
So how do you outrun a bear in business? All you have to do is be one step ahead of your competition, building these relationships. All you have to do, if you're the real estate agent trying to build a relationship with a mortgage professional, all you have to do is contact a mortgage professional 1 or 2 more times per year than your competition does. And
So
you will build
how
a
do
better
you contact
relationship.
someone without looking like a bad networker? What's the strategy? Because I think this
The
is
best
one of the
strategy I
key-
can tell you, Dr. Red Shoe, is very
Yeah.
simple. I send emails and say, hey, how's business? It's as simple as that. It's literally nothing else. It's like, so I had a client one time, a couple months ago, actually, and he said, okay, I'm going to send, I call them reach out emails. I'm going to reach out. You're going to reach out and say, hey, how's everything? How's business? And he's like, okay. And then should I just hit the carriage return a couple times and say, by the way, that project you were thinking of last year, should we talk about that? I said, no. It's not about your project. It's about actually caring about what's going on in their business. And so what happens when you first start doing this is you get ignored. Then when you do it again 3 months later, you get ignored again. Then when you do it 3 months later, then they go, oh, let me reply. And then the next time they reply again. Right. And now the conversation starts going. Now, there are times where I've had clients send a reach out email. Hey, how are things? And the response back is, things are great. I meant to get back to you and order this thing. It happens all the time.
That's
Okay.
great.
But that's not why we do it. We do it to establish a rapport and begin rebuilding the relationship for the gap of communication that we've had in the past. That's why we do it. And the
The
goal
rabbi's
here
good
is
at
to stay
that.
in touch.
Yeah. The rabbi's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
good
well-
at meeting people on LinkedIn and being interested and connecting with them just by being his own natural, curious, thoughtful self. I mean,
Mhm.
I think
and it's
LinkedIn
not a
is just-
strategy, just being him, And
LinkedIn
so-
is a marvelous platform for this because
Yeah.
there's so many people there who are not just posting pictures of here's my lunch.
Mhm.
They're actually sharing something that has value. And you look at the comments, there might be 100 comments and 90 of them are cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Thumbs up. If I take 2 minutes and
Mhm.
write a thoughtful comment, I almost always get some sort of appreciative
Right.
response because I'm engaging. I'm not just validating. And this is how we establish ourselves for the quality that we can bring other people and how we create the relationships that spread and introduce us to more people.
One of the best reach out processes I've done personally and have educated my clients on doing is on LinkedIn through the messaging platform. And it's whereby you send a message. It's the same canned message, but you send a message to the active people. So they need to be posting, the wall needs to be active. They need to be active on LinkedIn. But when you see someone post something, then you send them a message and it says, hey, I made some big changes in my business and I wanted to see what you were up to. And I wanted to talk. Do you have 20 minutes to just catch up and see what's going on? And I'd love to hear what you're up to and love to share what I'm up to. And I think I got a hit rate out of 55 messages. I get like 50 appointments on
That's
Zoom.
good.
Right. And all I do on that call, all I do is learn about them and eventually share what I am up to in 5 minutes. And it's a reconnect call. Right. Then from there, it's like, okay, what do I do next? Do I send a handwritten card? Do I send an email in 3 months or 2 months or 1 month? What do I do next? And not every relationship is going to be the same. You have to gauge it based on who they are and what they do and how you're connecting with them or not connecting with them. Remember, not everybody we connect with, we truly connect with, right? And so we might reach out to them maybe once a year or once every other year type of thing. They're just not, the connection didn't feel right. But we don't need, 200 really tight connections. We only need 10 or 20.
Well, one of my pet peeves is like on LinkedIn, someone says, do I have an hour to talk with them? And they haven't connected with me ever. They're just spamming me really. And
Is this after they've sent the connection request?
yeah.
Yeah. So you know what
or
I call
even
that?
as part of the connection request or shortly after. So
I call that
open
the
the gate,
pitch
I
slap.
say, hi, nice to connect. And then suddenly now they're wanting an hour of
Yeah.
my time.
Yeah.
I find that to be, I want to say poor lamb. I mean, that's just not bad strategy, but it's a big turnoff,
What do you call it
But-
now?
I call
Pardon?
it a pit. I call it a pitch slap.
A pit slap.
A pitch slap.
Oh, pitch slap.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they connect you, they connect with you with the sole purpose of pitching you on the next one. So what they're doing is they're basically blindsiding you by slapping you in the face with this pitch that comes right after you accept their connection request.
Absolutely.
And I used to reply, and in some cases would take screenshots of the messaging because some people would argue. One guy actually argued with me one time. It was like, this is networking. I'm like, you have no idea what networking is. Like, this is not networking. You have no interest. Your definition of learning about me is learning about my gaps so that you can solve them. Not actually like referring me, it's always interesting to see the people who are using the systems to do this stuff, because then what they do is they say, they'll send me a message. Hey, have you ever thought about writing a book? Yeah, I have 2. Yeah, I wrote 2 books. Like, what are you reading? Like, did you not read my profile? And they don't. And it's so obvious, right? Just don't be them. Don't be that guy or that girl. Don't be them. And we can do this all ethically. That's, authentically. We can show up. We can be real. And stop trying to chasing the money. That's what they're doing. They're chasing the money. It's gross.
It's like the pursuit of happiness. Right? You don't really pursue happiness. You pursue purpose. You pursue value. You pursue quality. And then happiness comes into your life.
Yeah.
you pursue people, and this is where we're coming back to where we started.
See, I think that happiness comes and goes day by day. But my second book called The High Five Effect, How to Do Business with People Who Bring You Joy, right? I believe that joy is a state of being. It's this sort of overarching time frame, not one specific hour or day or month.
Absolutely.
It's what you've achieved and what you're pursuing, the life that you want to live. And
Absolutely.
to me, a joyful life is freedom, doing what I want, when I want, where I want, and how I want. And so I don't let people block time in my calendar. I choose to not work certain days and times of the day. And I sacrifice other things for that, because if I worked more, I could make more money. But that's not of interest to me. I just don't want to go backwards, right? I came from poverty, so my goal is to not go backwards. But my goal is to have a lot of free time, to travel, to do things that I want to do. I mean, I flew to Arizona for a weekend to go to an expo that I walked the show floor for 4 hours. And then I flew home.
That's lovely.
And I did it because I'm an ATV enthusiast, and it was the Dirt Expo, like all ATV stuff. And it was just great. And I got to go to Phoenix, right?
And you got to geek out with your peoples.
That's
great.
right. That's
That's
right.
great.
And I'm looking at all the toys that I can put on all the accessories I can put on my ATV, and all this weird stuff, radios and new helmets and goggles and gloves and campers that I'll never buy, right? But it was just, and you know, that's just got, you know, I'm 48, and I figure it took me 47 years to find my joy, which is freedom.
Congratulations that you found your joy.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that you've hit on one of the secrets of happiness, but also of relationships. I think what many people miss is, do you find something you love, pursue it. That makes you more interesting. People then want to connect, and it's fascinating. You know, pick a hobby that you've always wanted to do. I mean, when you were 5, what did you want to do that you didn't do, or that you did? Pick it up.
Drive a fire truck.
Well, there you go. Well, then I'm seeing some firefighters in your future.
I need to find a place in this country that will let me drive a fire truck.
Hey, why not make it a charity event? I think where there's a will, there's a way. You can always help somebody make money by doing that. Now, the insurance will be out the roof, but that's a separate issue. So it's fascinating. You know, recently I became a blacksmith during the COVID, and I am getting some interesting connections. And I haven't never thought about referrals from them, but I suspect, you know, thinking about it, that someday that might happen. I don't know. But I'm meeting some most interesting people that are blacksmiths. Very fascinating, you know.
See, when I hear that, I just want to know what you've made. We could go on for an hour. So this is what is interesting about me. And I notice it's not with everybody, but I'm a super curious guy. And I really want to know what it took you to get started. What have you made? Did you sell any of it? Did you give it away for the holidays as gifts? What, you know, how hot is the fire? Did you, you know, what do you have to buy to get started as a blacksmith? Did you build this fire pit thing? Like, that's all intriguing to me. And I would rather talk about that than the business of speaking. I mean, I love the business of speaking. Don't get me wrong. I love to talk about that stuff, or whatever we might have in common. But literally, the blacksmithing is so cool. Like glass blowing, anything like that, like super cool. And I think also too, that makes a person interesting, because now we start to know and understand their hobbies.
Yeah.
And who they are.
And I think it's fun to be interested in what people are interested in. You know, the rabbi goes away and does something with his wife, and then I find out about it, and it's fun. And I know more about him and appreciate his interests and his sensibilities more. And it's such a great way to get to know people. And it's so much better than saying, I know you have however many thousands of hits on LinkedIn, be my friend. You know, I think it's so much better. And, you know, I read people's comments and I see who's doing it. I am not the best at social media, but I'm learning. And so I watch people who I think use it in a thoughtful and interesting way. So it's been fun. That's one of the things I've learned from both of you.
Mm.
So that's good. Well, Rabbi, I'm wondering about the word of the day, and then we'll come back to you, Matt, and figure out some last bit of wisdom that you have to offer our folks who are seeking great referral networks, those they give and those they receive. Rabbi?
Well, the word of the day just came to me about 3 minutes ago. And it's different from any word of the day that we have.
Is the word of the day preparation?
It was going to be, but I didn't think of it in time. The word of the day is actually a Hebrew word. As we were just talking about joy and happiness, there are actually 8 different words in Hebrew that mean joy or happiness. And each one of them has different nuance. One of them is the word Gila, which I should have thought of last week because our guest was Gila Mandelson. But the word Gila, the name Gila, means joy. But it also, it comes from the root gal, which means a wave in the ocean. The root actually means to swirl. When you look at a wave, it's fascinating because the wave has the same shape as it moves and as its component parts change. You know, the human in science is called a dissipative structure. It's like the water going down the drain. It holds a shape, but the water droplets keep changing. It's moving, but it's staying stationary. And human beings are like that. Our cells regenerate. They say every 7 years, we're completely different matter than we were. So what are we exactly? I'm not the same bits of atoms and molecules that I used to be. What am I? Well, I am the structure. I am the motion. I am the movement. The wave moves down the coast with a sense of purpose, in a certain sense of direction. And why is this a term for joy, for happiness? It has a lot with what you said, Matt, that it's a state of being. When we have a sense of purpose and meaning, and as you said, freedom, and freedom that's being used responsibly, right? That's where our joy comes from. And that's what it means to live a joyful life. I'm making progress, I'm changing, I'm growing while I'm staying the same. And this is really what ethics is all about. It's about giving us that sense of direction, that sense of how to live a good, meaningful, purposeful life that will naturally fill us with joy and will bring joy to those people that we bring into our lives.
Well said, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Wow. See, Matt, that's a real compliment to you because he gets inspired by the speaker for the word. So know that you inspired joy and thoughts of it and ethics. That's pretty cool. So what are some final words? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, that makes me smile.
Well, it should, because you make people smile. I find you to be funny and delightful. And one thing you did at the NSA Michigan meeting is that
Massachusetts, New England.
Yes, the Massachusetts meeting. He asked everybody, if you want to further discuss this with me, here's a link, and he offered himself for free for a certain period of time. And of course, I took advantage of it and got to know him better, and that's kind of cool. So, sir, final words of wisdom.
Well, first off, I like to say that I'm a mushroom. I'm a fun guy. Final words of wisdom. Don't live life too seriously. Like, chase the joy, chase the human laughter, chase whatever you feel is missing. Chase it. Chase it in your business. Chase it in your life. I'm a big believer that we should never allow our businesses to control us. If you want to work 7 days a week, I have no problem with that, but it should not be dictated by your business. It should be a choice by you. That to me is joy, right? Yeah, I just believe that this world is going to be a better place if we can walk down every hallway in any building we ever walk in and just high five people. And even with COVID, if you don't want to physically touch on the high five, I get it. But just do this at the next networking event you ever go to. Lock eyes with someone across the room. And as you approach, put your hand up to give them a high five and watch what happens. Even if they don't high five you, they will smile. And that is what the high five effect is really all about. So, as I wrap up today, I want to share with you what I say at the end of every video I post on YouTube every single week. And that is, don't forget to live happy, smile a lot, and high five everyone around you.
Well, thank you, Matt. It's such a simple message, and it's so fundamental. You know, the sages teach us that you should initiate a greeting to every person and meet every person with a pleasant countenance. And that's, make eye contact, smile, say hello. It takes so little effort, and it makes such a big difference. And it will change our lives, and it will change the lives of those around us. So thank you for sharing your insights and your message with us. And Doctor, what's the last word?
The last word, if you want referrals, be a good person, be good at what you do, and care about others. Now, I stole that from Matt Ward. So then give credit where credit is due. I think that the thing that sometimes we forget, and I see people who are very depressed these days, and they call me and I talk with them, and they forget why they're doing what they're doing. Why are you doing your business? If it's just for money, sometimes we have to do that. But is there a way to find something that is meaningful for you, or do what you're already doing in a more meaningful way that will help you have the energy to connect meaningfully? Is then indeed your business will grow. So if you're a human being and you're loving what you do, or at least find a way to love part of it, I think then we can all listen to Matt Ward and create a referral process that does share the joy with everybody. And I think that that's what the goal is. Well, gentlemen, it's been fun. I'm looking forward to, as always, bumping into you guys again. And I send you both a high five. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on The Rabbi and The Shrink. If you have questions, please post it for us at podcast@The Rabbi and The Shrink. And you can also go to our website, therabbiandtheshrink.com. Thank you all, and may you create a wonderful business that brings you and everyone you know joy. See you the next time.